Hello, hello. It's 3 minutes after 1 o'clock on this 4th day of February. Hello, everyone. Hello to Eric, Michael, Carrie, and Travis. Got quite the crew here today. No, I have an odd time once again. Sometimes when things are in the way, I'm not able to jump on. You guys know eventually I'll make it, but maybe a bit delayed there. Hope you guys are doing well. I am wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to SnowTALK. Apologize. Was out yesterday. Haven't been feeling the best, so today I'm trying to get back on track. That's baby steps here, so bear with me. A little bit of fog here today, but we're going to cover where we're at here on the short range data for these little snow chances coming our way the next few days, and we'll get into a little bit of a longer term talk. But I do think there's not much we're going to be able to say about the longer term for a while here. So this is we'd like to call it more of a intermission or recess for a lot of weather folks, the snow lovers out there especially, kind of relax a bit, get things reset in your world and your yard, wherever the case may be, get those cars cleaned up, and then we'll be, I'm sure, right back at it again not long after. So these resets are nice. They only make things make us appreciate when we get those more milder spells when they do come back into play, right? All right, let's get to the snowboard. I'll stop the rambling here. Let's get into where we're at here. And again, there's not a lot that is going to be changing for us. We're going to end up with these passing snow showers tomorrow, relatively minor. Another chance for some. They're very close together on time frame for Thursday and Friday. The Friday one may involve a bit of a mix, although I'm not as sold on that as what it was in the previous days. But we'll cover that, and then we'll give the snowboard a chance to relax just a little bit before we get back into the longer term. All right, snow stats. Yeah, that snow was wild yesterday. I didn't get a chance to see much of it, unfortunately, but I heard all about it. And I know you guys were excited about the thunder snow, right? Big flakes flying outside. I know that's the prettiest wet snow. That's, again, that Goldilocks temperature when you get in the lower 30s like that. That's when you really max out on what the atmosphere can do on a snow setup. As always the case, if it's like a degree colder and just a little bit more moisture, or just lingered a little longer, that's how you get your blockbuster winter storms. It's technically how we got the storm in 94. It was a very similar setup to what we had yesterday. where the warming layer was a question. But boy, when you get those big flakes going and got thunder snow, and if you can maintain that feed, it can get quite impressive. All right. Anyway, snow yesterday, just under an inch. But this 18.1 for the season. Not too shabby, right? Normal is 13.4. Yeah, that's gone. So we already know this is a way above normal snow season now. It's a matter of how far above normal we're going to go here. And 23.7 puts us in the top 10 on top 10 snowiest in Louisville's record keeping anyway. That's just a few inches to go to get to that level. So that's reachable. I mean, it's possible. We're, again, as you guys know, we got a long way to go yet on these cold blasts of air. Usually we get those all the way into, majority of them into March. Sometimes we get them into April. Last year, the polar vortex took all the way until May to completely shake off. Thought I'd do a quick update on the snow season. Oh, these are always fun to look at. Let me bring this full screen so you can see. I know it's hard to see there, but we've got anywhere in blue, by the way, running above normal, red below. So let's see. Allentown, PA, like at 28.5. New York City, 21.8. There's Louisville. There's our 18.1. That puts us at 10.5 inches above normal. Nashville, 1.4 this year. Atlanta, 0. Yeah, they were getting ready for a 1 to 3. They got 0 out of that deal. Snow lovers there, very upset. Even Asheville, North Carolina, I thought was interesting. They're running behind the mark. The Oklahoma City made up with this recent bigger winter storm that happened a couple of weeks ago. So that got them on the board. Same in Wichita Falls and in Waco. But I think no doubt it's the Rockies that stand out, having big problems here with the ski resorts. Now they're into a favorable pattern for the next 10 days. They may make some ground up, but still look at Salt Lake City, 1/10 of an inch of snow in Salt Lake. That's more than 2.5 feet off the mark for them. Yikes. All right. So once again, the Ohio Valley doing well. There's a live look there at the Ohio River, and still got these little floating little patches of ice. These are a little tougher to shake. To get out of the area, these tend to linger a little longer, and they're obviously moving up and down the river, so other areas are a little colder than other spots. But it's not frozen over. No, you cannot walk on it. Thank goodness that's the case, because that would be a sign of very, very cold air, and we are not ready for that. This test run was a tough one on us already, right? All right, 28 in Louisville now. We may get close to 31 here in Louisville. We got a lot of cloud cover. It's just a matter of whether it be a thinning of the clouds just to allow for a few sun rays right when it counts this afternoon at 3 o'clock. That may make the difference on getting 31, maybe 32. Otherwise, the more overcasty we stay, I think we'll stay generally where we are into the upper 20s there. You can see a look from the visible satellite, and you can see we've got the thin nature to the clouds. Every once in a while, you can see the snowpack where they do thin out, but these are relatively mid to high deck. A few flurries near the radar sites off to the east and around Indy. At times I'm lighting up. Yeah, I'm not going to roll up a few flurries. That's possible. Not worried about that. Wider view shows the low pressure that actually kicked up the burst of snow last night. It was tracking southeast, so this is the core of it now here into the Carolinas and about to move offshore, but it's warmed up to all rain, obviously, there. For the rest of us, if you look carefully, look at this batch of cloud cover here from the Twin Cities to near Columbia, Missouri. Notice it is nearly a north-south track. Tells us the flow is basically coming straight out of Canada here. So there's no southwest component here showing up yet. So we're going to hold on to a cold regime for tonight. We're going to hold on to a cold day tomorrow. Could get a few more flurries, especially off the lakes for tomorrow. Could get a few snow showers from there. And then as we get into Friday, a little bit more of a challenge. There is a warm front. I'll explain how that may play into type for part of Friday, but no big systems. All right. These are all relatively minor changes ahead. So let's get right into it. Here's Futurecast. Pay attention to the clock. Pay attention to where you're at on the map. Rest of the day today, flurries east. Otherwise, there could be some patchy areas of that freezing fog again. We keep getting teased with threats with that, not only tonight, but again into Friday. But we haven't had major issues yet. I mean, the fog was probably worse last night in areas that were above freezing in southern Kentucky versus in that colder area where the snow was. But can't rule it out with the snowpack. Yeah, you have to always just kind of be on guard for a fog bank to form, especially when you try to get a more warming scenario. So here we are into Thursday morning. This is likely going to be a lot of stratus, but again, some of this could be some fog mixed in there. We're working on the finer details right now on that idea. Otherwise, the snow showers will begin to break out as we head into Friday or Thursday afternoon and evening, mainly for Indiana, and then they'll kind of fade out a little more south they travel just because they'll be further away from their source. Minor issues on that. Now, the one for Friday is a little different. This will involve a warm front that will start to show up roughly, I would say, about here into West Kentucky, very early Friday morning. And then the warm front will continue to advance at 5 o'clock in the morning. The warm front will be pushing right up to near the I-71 corridor area into southern Indiana. Now, it also has a cold front that will stretch out like this. And again, here's your warm front. Normally, your warm fronts kind of stick out a little more in advance, right? Well, this one's very slanted north, west to southeast across the region. So that's why it'll look a little weird on the radar. But anywhere along that warm front, there's going to be a mix because your flow is going to be warmer right into it. That's where that would happen. Right on the edge of that, you can get some freezing drizzle or sleet that may get into the mix there. And this may be completely out of our area. We just think right now, if we're going to get any of this in our area for Friday, it'll likely take place on that southwest side. And this particular model is a colder model, by the way, because what it does, it brings in when the collapse of the fronts happens. So you have to look at this as cold front. Here's your warm front, and here is the low pressure, basically. So that's how it'll look on a surface map. It looks a little weird, but when that drops down finally, that will put an end because now the warm front's already south of Lexington. Now this is all cold air advection coming in from Indiana. We're on the other side of the front. So anything after the lunch hour on Friday should be in frozen form as far as snow showers that will be flying around. Question is, how much in the morning do we warm up before we have that flip? That will, again, matter on type, and it will matter on whether or not the second piece for Friday afternoon night will even stick. It may not. May have a tough time until we get a little bit further into the night. So not a big system. Most of it's east-based, more of Ohio, Eastern Kentucky idea, but we're close enough to the narrative that I think we'll just need to watch it. It continues the snow shower machine. You can tell lake effect for sure Friday evening into parts of Saturday, but it's a colder flow behind that front, allowing these snow showers. It's just the wind direction will be key on how those will aim as we get a little closer. And then we'll try that out. We'll get back to sunnier weather for part of the weekend anyway. All right, Thursday snow showers for tomorrow. Hard to pinpoint where they'll be, so we'll just be very generic here. That a dusting can certainly happen, very light coating in spots. No doubt. We get into the wave on Friday. That one will have a little bit more to work with. So depending on how close it gets to us, some spots could get up to an inch of snow, but that will likely be on the edges of wave country. If we end up with the main piece that drops down Friday evening, if that portion of the front, when it drops down, has a little bit more moisture than expected, then that 1 inch potential may be drawn a little bit more into our area, but we're not drawing 2 feet of snow or anything like that. All right. This is a very limited setup. It's a northern feature, so not a lot to work with. Fair enough. I don't want to talk too much about 2 minor snows, but they will be the 2 snows to really watch if there's anything to watch at all, because after that, we will get into a cold setup on Saturday. Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, we'll try to rebound and bounce back up again as we head into Sunday and parts of Monday. And then we'll get a couple warm fronts. One will bring with it a few showers for maybe Tuesday and Wednesday. But the main low is still holding back here in the Rockies. So this won't be an organized system yet, but it may be enough to get us in the 50s. Some models are going way warm, like 60s. You got to be careful with these warm surges that show up in models after a very cold Arctic period. As I always say, cold air is heavier, it's slower to move out, and we still got a snowpack that has to be eroded away before we get to the true numbers the models show. No doubt, yes, the snowpack's going to be ate alive here in this environment for the next week. The only thing that's going to survive this will be the snow mounds in the Kroger parking lot. That's it. Everywhere else, it'll begin to melt off. So once that continues to increase, we continue to melt more of the snowpack away, confidence in trying to get these numbers up a little bit more will start to increase. But again, be careful on the full idea that we're going to get into a spring setup here. It's going to lock in for the rest of the season. I just don't see that happening. I think we're going to reset to very much what December was like. If you remember in December, we had that southeast ridge that got developed. We had a lot of moisture. A lot of systems were coming in from Texas there for a while, and we we're in that tough zone here in the Ohio River Valley of getting into the wintry weather or just staying all rain, or in some cases even thunderstorms. Even ran into a few severe risks right in December with that type of setup. That will likely be the game plan for the rest of February. But as we close out the month at the very end and get into March, I do think we're going to get back into the colder shots of air into the eastern United States. In other words, the entire pattern you just went through is likely going to repeat again, except we're going to just rewind the clock back to December and start all over again. So we're going to go through some rain events, some thunderstorms, some minor snow issues every once in a while, wet snows, if that. And then we'll get into perhaps another blast of Arctic air and maybe something more decent on the wintry side. What will be a little different in the second time around is that we'll have a warmer setup in terms of the higher sun angle. We'll be entering March. So now, instead of the middle of January, the coldest part of the year, right, we're going to be entering a time period where we begin to warm up. So will it be as severe on the cold side as what we just went through? No, just because the Earth, this way the seasons are balanced out, we will be getting back out in that environment. So that's good. But I do think that still will put us on the table for some snow events late February into March. I think that's fair to say. Otherwise, we'll have to deal with some rain and some thunder. I hope we don't get too much heavy rain, by the way, in this setup while we're enjoying our intermission, because that the amount of snow we got now is going to be melting into the water table, and any heavy rain will add on to that. That just only sets the stage for you guys. You don't want to say, for not a good way to get into spring around here in Ohio Valley. You don't want to be in that much of a surplus, because that leads to problems for rivers in general into the spring. So I'm not saying that's going to happen yet, but yeah, we don't want that narrative to happen. We want to ease out of this slowly. Any questions I can answer on this? I mean, it's a pretty generic block here today. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, because I don't trust my brain today. So slowly ease into the thoughts on this. But, hold on one second. There we go. You could see we've got upper 20s next couple of days. We'll go with 40 as we head into Friday, again, the southwest side of that system. Otherwise, we'll crash to 19. Yeah, we'll be watching for slick travel Friday night. That's possible. Some slick spots may come into play, and I don't see much of an issue on slick travel really for the rest of the weekend after that. Just be careful for any refreezing that we'll deal with, especially Super Bowl night. That's possible, although 29 is not exactly brutal, but it's below freezing. And then next week, we actually may stay above freezing at night for a few nights. Wow. What are you guys going to do? How are you going to plan for that? All right. Let's see. Chris, meteorology Chris. Where will the jets be located in the last 2 weeks of February? It'll be a split flow, mostly zonal for mid-February. But Chris, by the point, it depends which model you want to look at. But I think we'll get into more of a block or a ridging in the West Coast. So we'll get back to a split flow again, which will lead into the funding games into March. Most of the models don't really fully show it yet, but that's this kind of a pattern, again, weather patterns don't necessarily repeat. They rhyme. This one has a good chance to rhyme. But as I mentioned before, when you get into the higher sun angle part of the season, that's a whole other catalyst involved. It's going to be much harder, guys, to snip out winter storms well in advance. The big one we've had this season that we've been tracking, that was sniffed out a month in advance just because we're confident in the Arctic cold and the storm track. In this case, we don't know exactly how cold if we were to see that signal again. So it could be any type. So you won't hear us talk as much about long-term on snow chances as we have been able to in the past. But we'll try to give you as early as we possibly can with confidence. Fair enough? And you should hear on the blog. It's always, if it's an item, ends up on the board anyway. You guys are used to that. I'm just talking about stuff we refer to on TV. Okay. Everyone look good. Everyone look good. The snow for New Albany Thursday night, it'll be very, Lori, it'll be very blotchy. In other words, it's very just like passing flurries. There's no set time. It'll just be in random fashion throughout the evening and overnight. You may get completely missed too, Lori. So it's not widespread. So we can't go very high on the chance. It's only 20, 30%. Sunday, did you say it was going to warm up and on more snow? It will be warming up to near 40 as we get into Super Bowl Sunday. That will cause a decent amount of melting. I was referring to as watch out for the refreezing Sunday night, but additional snow, no. Next week certainly is more of a rain look to it. Absolutely. Can't even get thunder. But I just really caution on some of the modeling out there that's like trying to really go wild with like 60s, even a couple miles of trying pushes in the 70s. I'm not saying no. And hey, we all would like that in the 70s right now. Just got to go slow with the pattern right now. It's going to keep trying to trend a lot in the long term. It wants to trend toward climo. In other words, what I mean by that is it's trying to trend toward what normally happens at this point in the year. And we're not exactly a normal pattern this season. So you got to kind of correct it. And that's what we're doing with our 10-day, correcting the higher numbers there until we get more confidence. Okay. I think everyone's good. Everyone's good. Just stay close to the forecast on these little snow showers here. But again, no big systems here, guys. So this is pretty easy going weather. If you're tired of the snow, you want to get things cleaned up. You want to get your car cleaned up. You want things to sort of get back to normal. We're almost there. This is a pattern that will slowly ease us into the coming days. And at least for the Super Bowl weekend, we don't have any wild weather coming in that's going to cause us any headaches. And everyone hopefully can travel safely to where they need to go. All right. You all take care. I'll be back tomorrow with another update there on SnowTALK. Fair enough? Take care, guys. See you at 3 o'clock.